My name is Maddie Brown, and here's my economics presentation for supply and demand in Disney movies. To start off, supply and demand are the fundamental basics of economics. Without this, economics would not exist. It's kind of like the foundation of economics, the whole idea of what it is. Demand basically is how much quantity of something is desired by buyers, and supply is how much of the product that is in demand is available for people to buy. There is a higher price for things that are in high demand but low or running low on supplies, and there is a lower price for things where there is a lot of supply but less demand for it. I decided to go with Disney's Frozen for my first example of supply and demand in Disney movies. When Elsa freezes over Arendelle, she basically makes the whole country cold, and people can't get warm, and it's just basically winter all year long, all the time. And so, in this kind of situation, I feel like things like blankets and coats and firewood would all be in high demand but in low supply because people would be giving them out a lot to lots of people, but they would be used so much and people would be spending so much money on them because they need them so much to keep warm in this winter that doesn't end. And things like shorts and t-shirts and sundresses that you would wear in the summer in hot weather would have less demand but be an okay supply because it hasn't been summer in a while and people aren't going to be using these these summer dresses and clothing articles in the winter because it would be too cold. Ice would also be in low demand and high supply, as they say in the movie, because I don't know why you would need ice in a frozen winter. You wouldn't need to buy ice in a frozen winter. You could honestly just go outside and get some from frozen lake nearby or the snow. And you wouldn't want to drink any cold drinks during the winter. You'd want to drink warm things like hot chocolate and things like tea to stay warm. And I also wanted to point out that Wandering Oaken's trading post and sauna is also trying to adapt to the new conditions. When he finds out that he started out as just trading post, but in the movie he says it's a trading post and a sauna. And that's basically, I feel like that might be because the whole land is frozen over and it's an eternal winter, and so he thinks that if people want to get warm, they'd want to go to a sauna, because a sauna is a place where people go to sweat and get warm, and so people might pay a lot of money to do that on any given day in this eternal winter. The second movie I chose to talk about was Supply and Demand in Disney's WALL-E. In WALL-E, there are basically, the earth has been littered so much with trash and that it's just completely unlivable and toxic to be there anymore. And so everyone migrated and went to space while they had robots clean up the earth for them. But they liked it in space so much that they never came back down. And they all basically just sat around and got fat all day, sitting in chairs in space because they didn't exercise or do anything because they didn't have to. So, things that would be in high demand and low supply while these people are in space would be comfortable clothing, fatty foods that taste good, and people or robots that do things for them. In this case, it would be robots. People would pay a lot of money for these things, and they'd probably be in low supply because they're giving them out to a lot of people because people are paying so much money for them, because these are things that people want when they're being lazy and just sit around all day. These are things that people do to entertain themselves. And things like fruits and vegetables. Why would you eat fruits and vegetables if you don't have to be healthy? In space, everyone is eating bad and they're all fat. And they also can't, this is an instance where it would be low demand and low supply because they can't really grow any fruits and vegetables in space. And exercise equipment would be another thing that would be low demand, but the supply might be okay since they have all the robots. I'm sure they have the technology to build lots of exercise equipment, but people wouldn't be using the exercise equipment in space again because they wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't want to. Why would they want to exercise? Why would they need to exercise if all they want to do all day is sit around and get fat? And the last movie I want to talk about was Supply and Demand in Monsters, Inc. I decided to use an instance where if a child was found in the monster world, because they all think that children are toxic and that they can die if you touch the child. Things that would be in high demand and low supply would be things like cleaning supplies to cleanse and sanitize your surfaces and everything, just in case a child has touched them, since children are so toxic. And another thing would be food for storage, because I don't feel like in this situation people or monsters might not want to leave their houses with a child running on the loose, because who knows where the child might have been or what it might have touched, so they might want to buy a lot of food to store up in their storage. Transportation might be another one that people might not need very much in this situation, because people wouldn't be leaving their houses very much and going to do things, and so that might be something that people wouldn't need very often in this situation. Two things. Another thing that they might not need another thing that they would want in high demand, and it might be in low supply because so many people are buying them and using them, would be televisions, radios, and newspapers, because people need televisions, radios, and newspapers to get updates on where the child is, or what the child is doing, or where she or he has been, and they want to make sure, they want to find out when the child is gone, or if it's close to being eradicated from the monster world. And also, I wanted to say that protective services might be another thing that people might want while this child is running around, because they won't want the child breaking into their houses. They might think that children are, because they don't really know what children are capable of, these monsters. And so they would want house alarms and security cameras to make sure that their houses are safe and that they are safe in turn. And that is it. Thank you for watching my presentation, and I hope you have a good day.